Well, based on the new CFP committee's rankings, the ACC could end up anywhere between 2 to 0 teams in the college football playoff. Here's the situation.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today. We'll talk about the matchups for that ACC Championship game coming up on Saturday between UVA and Duke. It is a rematch from just a few weeks ago. We will break it down. We do have ACC Players of the Year have been crowned. We'll talk about that. But Kenton, let's talk about these ACC realities in the college football playoff. Are you bracing yourself for the possibility that this entire Power 4 conference could very well be left without any representation in the CFP?
I'm absolutely preparing myself for that for two reasons. Number one, because the committee is trash. It's their reasoning is without reason. It is quite literally the prime example of I start with a conclusion and then I work to create data that supports that conclusion instead of I look at the data and then reach my conclusion based on that data, number one. And number two, and the smaller reason, but it's still a personal gripe of mine anyway, ACC fans can't see the forest from the trees. ACC ADs and athletic programs cannot see the forest from the trees, which is why everybody was not banging the table screaming Florida State was robbed. There were certain fan bases who are now on the table to be robbed, saying, ha, look at you guys, you losers. And a very simple concept from a movie called Planet of the Apes could have helped us all out. Ape together, strong. ACC together, strong. ACC when Miami laugh at Florida State and ACC when Florida State laugh at Miami, weak. Because we cannot all get on the same page for, hey, guys, you cannot leave this team out. So, again, and granted, the what our ADs and what our administrators and what Phillips isn't doing, I'd say that's about 20% of it, 15 to 20% of it. But the lion's share of the doomsday scenario is due to the committee actively working to rob us by saying SMU doesn't deserve to be ranked. They were bad out of conference. Notre Dame's got a hell of a resume. Notre Dame has 4 teams on their schedule that won 3 or less games. 3 or less.
I'll give you another one. Notre Dame, eight of the 6 of the last 8 teams that Notre Dame beat had defenses ranked between 105th to 127th. That was the type of competition they were going up against. So yeah, their losses are great. Losses are fantastic. Their best win was against a 9-3 USC, who will not be a playoff team. They didn't beat a playoff team this year, but their losses are fantastic, Kenton.
But that's my point exactly, right? We were told, we're not going to judge off the losses. We're going to judge off the totality of the picture. To me, the totality of the picture, head-to-head, matters most. That matters first and foremost in my mind. If there are 2 teams with similar resumes, when you lined it up, what happened? And if you don't want to play, I keep hearing this, well, Miami was at home, and it was a last-second field goal, and home field gives you 3 points and all that. Well, why don't y'all do the season opening game in Jerry World? Why don't y'all do the season opening game in the Chick-fil-A kickoff, the Duke Mayo kickoff? Why don't you do one of the other kickoff moments? Because Notre Dame knows they have the cachet to ask for what they want in terms of football, even if this thing is typically between a team from this conference and a team from this conference. If Notre Dame was to knock on some doors and say, I want to play in that, I doubt that they turn them down. So to me, this is ultimately a scenario where we're talking about computers, we're talking about rankings, we're talking about what ifs, And if ifs were fifths, me and Donno would be stone cold drunk. But here we are, as sober as can be, not blacked out at all, because when we look at the real world, what has actually happened matters. And for some reason, college football seems to be the only sport where very similar resumes to where these two are bumping up against each other, but a head-to-head does not get one team in over another. Yep. And it's quite shameful in my opinion.
Yeah, all right. So the scenario that could see the ACC, which is possible with 0 teams in the college football playoff, it plays out like this. And we'll talk about why we don't expect this to happen, but if Duke beats Virginia this weekend and Duke is crowned ACC champion, they're going to be 8-5, and they're going to be ranked behind, very likely will be ranked behind 2 group of 5 conference winners. So there is no auto bid for the ACC. The auto bids go to the 5 highest ranked conference champions. If Duke wins the ACC, they will likely be behind a couple of G5 champs, so Duke wouldn't be in. Now, Miami is the highest ranked team in the ACC, but the CFP rankings on Tuesday night kept Miami at number 12. So unless Miami gets a lot of help and like a come to Jesus meeting from the committee, Miami will likely be on the outside looking in, because you have to be top 10. If you're at large, you can't be number 12. You have to be top 10. So that scenario, Duke wins the ACC championship. The committee doesn't move Miami up. The ACC is left with 0 representation. Now, on the flip side, Kenton, if Virginia, as they should do, wins the ACC championship game this Saturday, UVA at 11-2 obviously gets the ACC's conference, or one of those 5 conference champ auto bids, so they're in. And then there is a possibility, and the committee chair, Hunter Yurachek, it's hard to take anything he says seriously because he contradicts himself every 30 seconds, but he did leave the door open to, if Miami were to find themselves ranked directly next to, 1 spot behind Notre Dame, then they might actually honor the head-to-head, because his logic to this point, there's always been teams between them, right? So it's not just Miami versus Notre Dame. It's Miami versus BYU versus Alabama versus Notre Dame. So they haven't honored the head-to-head. So the scenario for Miami, a lot is riding on Texas Tech this weekend. If Texas Tech beats BYU for the second time this year in the Big 12 championship game, BYU likely obviously drops out of the playoff field, and then maybe Miami and Notre Dame are ranked back-to-back, and perhaps the committee decides, hey, and I don't know why they would just realize it this Sunday when they didn't realize it this past Tuesday. So I don't think that this necessarily happens, but the committee did leave it open to, well, maybe if they're right next to each other, Miami jumps over Notre Dame. Now, there's also the Alabama issue. Alabama's ranked in front of them both. So if Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC championship game, they probably drop at least 1 spot, but do they keep them maybe between Miami and Notre Dame so they still have a buffer? Does Alabama fall out of the field completely? I find that hard to believe because it's Bama, it's the SEC. But, definitely a BYU loss would help Miami's case, and maybe the ACC gets 2 in.
Donno, that doesn't make sense. And I have to say this out loud, and I need everybody to understand this. Whether BYU wins or loses, they will not stay in that exact same spot. Even if BYU beats Texas Tech, you can't leave them right where they are because they just beat, what is Texas Tech now, the number 5 team in the nation?
Yes,
or something along those
number
lines?
4, I think now.
Number 4. They've got to jump up. That space between Notre Dame and Miami, unless this committee is just really bad at doing writing for a drama show, right? Unless this is Days of Our Lives, college football edition, and we can see from a mile away, hey, wait, that's his twin brother. That's not really him. He's left-handed. That guy keeps grabbing stuff with his right very intentionally and very loudly. There's no way that BYU stays in that exact spot. Either they will have a loss that drops them,
But I think the point is, I think if BYU wins, there's a chance both Miami and Notre Dame fall out, actually.
Okay, so see, now that makes more sense. That makes more sense to me. I kept hearing like, oh, BYU, if they move from being right there, and I'm like, Don't they have a game?
Yeah, they're
They're
going
gonna
to
move one way or the other.
For sure. But if they move down, it gives Miami a chance. If BYU moves up, then Notre Dame and Miami might be ranked 11 and 12, and they both say goodbye playoff.
Okay. Well, knowing your mark and the showman that he is trying to get his teams in, watch those referees. Go check their FanDuels. Go check their FanDuels. But in all seriousness, this is a moment where I sit here and I say, at the end of the day, we should not be having to have a come to Jesus moment or a last second realization to say, hey, Miami's better than the team that they beat. Miami's better than the team that has the exact same record as them that they have beaten head to head. In my mind, you beating a team head to head is the ultimate tiebreaker for me. If there's ever a moment where I'm saying I can understand if Miami's a 3-loss team and we're having this conversation after they got shocked by NC State or something like that, then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Notre Dame needs to be in. Yeah, they won head to head, but dissimilar schedule or dissimilar records, and you've got 3 losses to their 2. Great, I understand. We're talking about teams with the same record, and you're telling me it's more important to lose to good teams than to beat good teams, because between the two, who has the best win? Miami. Between the two, I still don't understand the strength of schedule and strength of record and how that's worked out for Notre Dame, because it must be that the teams that beat them are pushing it up. Because if we're talking about what actually happened on the field, of the wins that you had in this massive winning streak, some of them have come against teams that did not have a post. I don't think people understand. Right. Syracuse just signed a rapper by the name of Tusi. The young man is 25 and hasn't played football in 7 years, and he's under 6 feet tall. That's a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
As much as everybody loves Fran Brown, we got to be honest. That's a thing that any other Power 4 school, everybody be looking at, what the hell is going on here?
Well, can I get hold on? Let's take a pause. I'll give you Notre Dame's actual resume when we come back, and it's the reason why we say their best wins are their losses. So we'll talk about that. We have to talk about the UVA versus Duke matchup this weekend because, again, there's a lot riding on Virginia winning this game. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You could preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Guys, this is the absolute best. If you want to give this to your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, if you have any newlyweds in your life, anyone who loves photos, endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. Add a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's opened. Packaging comes gift ready, no price tag, no wrapping needed. It's a huge win. It's a holiday gift that actually gets used, not forgotten in some drawer. Folks, for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by using auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now and get it in time for the holidays. Show support to our show, by the way, by mentioning Locked On ACC at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network #1. We are so appreciative to all the everydayers out there. All right, so again, like Kenton, I guess I would maybe better understand the situation if Notre Dame had a bunch of like incredible victories, right? Like, oh, they lost to Miami and they lost to Texas A&M. Like, those are both really good losses. So surely for them to be ranked in front of a team that has the same record and beat them, they must be going out there like beating top 5 teams day in and day out. Here's Notre Dame's resume this year. They beat 2-10 Purdue, powerhouse of the Big Ten, 2-10. They beat them 56-30. So they allowed 30 points against the Boilermakers. They beat 2-10 Arkansas, 56-13. All right, so they got some style points against a 2-10 team. They beat 8-4 G5 Boise State, 28-7. A side note on that: Miami dominated USF, who dominated Boise State this season. Notre Dame beat NC State. Sorry, Kenton, 36-7. The team that Miami beat 41-7. NC State. Well, what did they finish, Kenton? 7-5.
7-5. 7-5. Yes, sir.
7-5 NC State. Their best win, Notre Dame, was against a non-playoff team, 9-3 USC, 34-24. So their best win came against a team that will not be in the playoffs. They beat Navy 49-10. They did not respect our troops. They beat a service academy. They beat Pitt 37-15, who Miami beat 38-7. Now they really flex because they beat Syracuse 70-7, kind of disregarding the fact that Miami beat Syracuse 38-10. So, more style points for Notre Dame, but Miami at least faced a scholarship quarterback, right? Notre Dame faced a scholarship lacrosse player when they played against Syracuse. So it's not exactly the same. And they beat Stanford 49-20, who Miami beat 42-7. So does that resume look so much better for Notre Dame, where you say, you know what? Not only are the losses great, but the wins are fantastic. So we have to rank them in front of a team that beat them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And here's my whole thing about it, right? If we're looking at this situation and saying, well, let's look at the difference between Miami and Notre Dame's records and all that good stuff, right? What is Notre Dame's record against P4 teams with a winning record? Okay, so you got 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, and that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, 3-2 because of Pitt. 3-2 because of Pitt. So that's where they're at with this. Is that impressive of a resume? 3-2 is that impressive to where, again, you're going to exclude a Miami team that, if you look at what they had done, it's a very, very similar picture. If you look at what Miami has done against Power 4 teams only, so I'm taking away one of their best wins in South Florida, taking that away, wiping it off the table, and saying only Power 4 teams with winning records. You've got 1-0 after playing Notre Dame. You've got 1-1 after playing Louisville. You've got 1-2 after playing SMU. You got 2-2 and after NC State, 3-2 after Pitt. So last time I checked, is that not the exact same? Is that not the exact same? Only difference being we lined it up and I beat you? That's so you're getting the benefit of, and this is why I refuse to hear Texas's whining about, oh, we're going to stop playing those big weenies in Columbus. Everybody cancel your hard games, because Notre Dame right now is getting love for strength of schedule and strength of record on the backs of what? It can't be on the backs of solely the teams that they've beaten. It's on the backs of the fact that their 2 losses are 2 playoff teams. That's what they're getting off of. So if I was Texas, give me all the tough teams. Don't put Sam Houston in there. Go play Ohio State, then play Michigan, then go ahead and play USC, then go ahead and play Miami. You know why? Because the committee is saying, oh, well, if you lose to those big, strong guys, we'll give you the benefit because them beating you isn't as good as you losing to the right teams, which is complete and total malarkey.
Yeah, that's very well said. All right, so this Saturday at 8 p.m. in Charlotte, we're going to get a rematch between the Virginia Cavaliers, 10-2, against the Duke Blue Devils, who finished their season 7-5, somehow getting to the ACC Championship Game. We already went over that earlier this week. I don't want to, make myself feel like an idiot again talking about that a second time. Now, here's the thing, Kenton, these teams played each other on November 15th. So third to last game of the season for both of them. Just a couple of weeks ago they matched up, and UVA in Durham, in Duke's home stadium, beat them out 34-17. Game wasn't even that close. UVA was up 34-3 in the fourth quarter, and Duke they outscored them 14-3 in the final frame. They did not have an answer for Jamari Taylor, the star running back from Virginia. They did pick off Chandler Morris a couple of times. He threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But this matchup was not close the first time they squared off. Now, UVA is only favored, I think, by 4.5 points the second time around. But what am I missing here? Like, what would lead people to believe that the Duke Blue Devils, after losing to this team at home, 3 weeks later can beat them on a neutral site?
It's because people don't watch the games. Folks are lazy and are not actually watching the games to see what happened. A lot of people say, well, that fumble, Duke was on a hell of a drive before that fumble completely derailed the game for him in the third quarter. Well, let's go ahead and look at this, shall we, Donno? Let's do the drive charts here, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going to read you Duke's drive chart up until that fumble, okay? And we'll even count that fumble as a touchdown. We'll say they don't fumble near the end zone, and then the 78-yard run doesn't happen. Punt, 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 field goal, punt, punt, touchdown. That's it. That's wow. All their first half drives up until the third quarter, second drive of the third quarter. That's it. That's what we got there. That's what we got. We got one field goal in the entire first half, and then even starting off the second half, you got an immediate punt.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we really doing here? I'm telling you right now, I think that this Virginia Duke game is one where you're easily going to see not only, and again, I'm telling you all, bet responsibly. I am not a betting degenerate. That is Alex Donno, my wonderful, beautiful co-host over there. Do not bet on this irresponsibly, but I'm telling you, I would take not only the money line on this one, I'd take the spread as well. I think that Virginia wins this game handily and comfortably because Duke ain't stopped nobody all year long. And their defense has not gotten particularly better at any point in time in the season. I do not look at them as saying from the first game forward, oh, man, what a great team this is. 17 points allowed against Elon, where they finally wore him down in the second half and took over that game. 45 against Illinois, 34 against Tulane, 33 against NC State. It wasn't until they played a Syracuse team that had guys that couldn't throw the ball as well as Donno's son at quarterback to where their defense finally started to look legit. So ultimately, I see this as a situation where Virginia's going to win this game handily. And again, they have allowed teams to do things offensively that they have not repeated in virtually any other game. I mean, how many games did Clemson score 40-plus this year despite having Mr. Heisman front runner at quarterback this year? They did so one other time, and that was against Boston College. Oh. If your defense is on par with either one of the Bills this year, you're stinking. Yeah. So I think Chandler Morris, Jamar Taylor and company get this one done by a mile.
Yeah, I just think for Duke, the X factor would be get a couple of extra takeaways, and Darian Mensah just has to play out of his mind. He's ballistic. He's one of the best players in the ACC, but he's got to play out of his mind. And you mentioned like Duke having that fumble in the red zone, but red zone turnovers have been an issue for them all year. Like that was not like a fluky thing that happened in that one game. So they got to avoid that stuff as well. So I think we are both in agreement of Virginia winning the game and covering that spread. When we come back, big honors for Haynes King. We forgot about Georgia Tech a little bit because they faded at the end of the year, but Haynes King gets honored. Reuben Bain gets honored. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on Locked On ACC. And guys, we're giving you that free advice for this weekend. I mean, you want to head to FanDuel. You want to lock in Virginia. NFL Sundays, by the way, move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. So you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. And guys, for the real ball knowers, live betting is where it's at. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Kenton Gibbs, earlier this week, we kind of predicted who the ACC players of the year were going to be. And I don't think either of us mentioned Haynes King, who ends up winning overall player of the year and offensive player of the year in the ACC. Like, did we just kind of, and it's not to say, like, you and I are not habitual Haynes King overlookers. Like, we've been singing his praises for the last several years. Feels like he's been in college forever. But I guess maybe we just kind of downplayed Georgia Tech for the fact that they've struggled at the end of the year, but that was all defensively. Like, the struggles were not offensively. That was not on Haynes King. They couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense. So I don't know. Do you have any argument here to Haynes King being named player of the year?
Here's my only thing against that. When teams wanted to beat Miami, was the strategy, we're going to run at Reuben Bain. We're going to make Reuben Bain defend the run.
No.
Okay, no, I get it, Donno. He's a really good player against the run. They said, you know what? He's not that good of a pass rusher. So we'll leave him one-on-one all night long. And that's the strategy. Double Mesidor, get those big fellas in the middle, double them, but leave Reuben Bain one-on-one. Was that the strategy, Donno?
No, it was not.
Strategy
was go away, as far away from Reuben Bain as possible.
And that brings me to my point. With all due respect to Haynes King, I think offensive player of the year, I wouldn't have had a problem with that one at all. Yeah. Here's my problem with him winning overall player of the year. Team strategy for Georgia Tech was make Georgia Tech throw the ball. That was what people said. If you make them throw the ball, they will struggle. Grayson Boone and I noted that at the NC State game, and that's not to say that he had no success through the air, but in pivotal moments, it was very clear that their passing game was out of sync. Now, I understand that there are different ways to play the quarterback position, and he happens to play it like a battering ram. He happens to play it where running the ball is pivotal to what he does. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that's not valuable. What I am saying is I struggle to look at that and say, I can give you the same props and love that I would if I'll give you the same props and love, even though teams specifically said that the strategy for slowing down their offense, because you couldn't contain them. And again, that's much with all due respect to Haynes King. You couldn't stop them to where it's like, oh, we'll give up 14 points to these guys. But it's difficult for me to say you're the guy when the entire strategy of the other team is not to, quote unquote, make you one-dimensional. It's to simply say, if they have to throw the ball, I'm not sure the passing game is quite there. So again, I'm not mad at this choice. I'm not mad at it. You know, these awards, player of the year and all that, more often than not, they're quarterback awards. I'm just saying there were other guys in this conference that I'm like, there was nothing you could do with this young man. And if he had the ability to where you could put the ball in his hands every play and let him decide to get, come on now. Come on. There's no way that we would be looking at the same type of situation here.
Yeah, so it's Kenton alluded to there. So Reuben Bain did win ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Haynes King, as mentioned, wins Offensive Player of the Year and Overall Player of the Year. But Kenton, I did a little research on who has won overall ACC Player of the Year over the years.
Yeah,
I don't think any defensive player has ever won it. So it's like, what's the point of that award? Like, why don't you just do an offensive player of the year and a defensive player of the year if you're just going to give overall player of the year to the same guy that you give offensive player of the year to? What's the point? Because I've got this in front of me. The winners in order here, most recent to least recent. Tell me if you hear a defensive player in this list. I don't. Cam Ward, Jordan Travis, Drake May, Kenny Pickett, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, James Conner, Jameis Winston, Taj Boyd, David Wilson, who is a Virginia Tech running back, Tyrod Taylor, C.J. Spiller, Jonathan Dwyer, Matt Ryan, Calvin Johnson, like that's going back to 2006. I could go back even further. I don't see a single defensive player who's ever won ACC Player of the Year. So I think that right there explains why Reuben Bain did not win it.
Donno, you and I are both college guys, and this reminds me of when certain sororities would be like, "We have a very diverse group, and it's all blondes with like one or two brunettes in there." And it's like,
it's all blondes with blue eyes, but we got two blondes with brown eyes. See,
there you go. There you go. Their blonde may have come out of a can, Donno, but the eyes are different. The eyes are different, and they didn't put in contact. So, I mean, that's what this is. And trust me, I'm not saying, oh, you need to give it to other positions just to spice it up. But we all know when it comes to Player of the Year and all that, 9 times out of 10 is going to go to a quarterback. That's just the nature of the game. There's only two guys that are guaranteed to touch the ball every single play: the center and the quarterback. Okay. And the center, his job ain't sexy enough, and they are big fat slobs, not necessarily aesthetically sexy enough to win this award. So when you get that, there's only one person left that touches the ball every play. It's like when we talk about media day, we say, if your quarterback ain't here, what's wrong? What's going on that your quarterback ain't here? Maybe your quarterback is a really good player, but he's not the most media trained. He's not the guy that you want in front of cameras. But if you know sports and you know how this thing works, he's going to have to answer a lot of questions because people aren't going to go up to your left tackle. Hello, Jonathan Ogden. How did you do? Da, 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 da. Yes, please explain to me, CC Malinois, how did you do? Da, 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 da. It's not going to happen. Carson Beck's going to be the one at the podium.
Right. I know you're 100% right. Well, congratulations to Haynes King, Reuben Bain. By the way, Malachi Toney won Offensive Rookie of the Year and Overall Rookie of the Year. So huge shout out and thank you to Kenton Gibbs doing an awesome job. You can check him out with Grayson Boone on Locked On Wolfpack. Also follow Kenton on X at TGIF_Kenton. You can check me out on Locked On Canes and follow me at Alex Donno. And we'll talk to everybody next time on the #1 Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're #1.